take up leadership in the fact that the center of gravity of Christianity is now moving to the southern hemisphere. Now, the third point or the third issue of concern is the advocacy agenda. Advocacy agenda, and in this area, we're looking at ecological integrity, we're looking at population growth management, and then addressing LGBTQIAAP+ issues. On ecological integrity, we are all aware of the environmental degradation that we are experiencing. It's beginning to bite. It's beginning to bite, and so in some parts of the country, at a point in time, there was difficulty in having drinkable water. We are collaborating with DDS in terms of tree planting and helping to put our environment right. Ghana produces, for example, 840,000 tons of plastic waste, and only 9.5% is recycled. You ask yourself, where would the rest go? Or where does the rest end up? Galamsey activities and water bodies being destroyed, and the department takes up advocacy in this role as well. Then population management. The birth rates in Ghana increasing at an alarming rate. For in 2021, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, 900 births were recorded in Ghana, and we are the 33rd in terms of the highest in the world. Increase in population has attendant problems, and if the church does not stand up and be concerned and be proactive, it's going to get back to us. And so we are encouraging presbyteries to help presbytery directors and coordinators in the presbyteries to take up this seriously and to pursue this agenda. And then lastly, we're looking at LGBTQIAAP+ issues. The department has worked out a document and working together as well with the clan so that we're able to develop this document into a Bible study outline to help in educating members of our congregations. So this will be used in our congregations and in our institutions. It is hoped that soon this outline will be developed. To conclude, I will just want to appeal to presbyteries who have partnerships and are keeping it to themselves to furnish the office, the national office, with these partnerships so that we can help to facilitate those relationships and help to guide those relationships. Then I would also want to express appreciation to my predecessor, Reverend Ashite, for his support. I'm grateful to the principal officers for their support and departmental directors for their support. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, you. Director, HRM. So you give brief. Pick your pen, pick your pen. So after your briefing, you invite your leaders. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Papa Clark. Yeah, the presentation from the department will be from the director, the legal unit, property unit, and the ICT unit. From the director, I will give a few announcements or briefs. Please take note of these. The presentation of the 2022 statistics to the head office. The deadline for submission is the 28th of February. Please take note, the deadline for submission is the 28th of February. And we are appealing to all presbyteries to use the approved format. We have sent the format or the template to the presbyteries, and we are pleading that presbyteries should not redesign the forms. And we are also appealing that besides or apart from the chairperson signing, the chairperson of the committee on ISPS should also sign. Over the years, we've had situations where some presbyteries come back to challenge the data that they have presented. And we want as much as possible to avoid such situations. So please use the approved formats and kindly send the statistics to us on time. The deadline is 28th of February. In the same way, the 2022 reports for the 2023 General Assembly, the deadline for the submission of reports to the head office is the 28th of February. And let us use the approved format. And we are also appealing that presbyteries should take pains to edit their reports. This is very, very important. 4th February 2023 will be the deadline for the submission of applications for further studies. 4th February. And please take note that applications are to be endorsed by presbytery chairpersons of the applicants. We shall also be having some interviews. For the special ministerial training, the interview will take place from the 21st of February to the 24th. 21st to 24th of February. For further studies, I indicated earlier that the deadline is on the 4th, and the interviews will take place from the 9th to 10th. 9th to 10th, further studies. And for TTS interview, that will be later, April 17th to 19th. We are reminding presbyteries to forward the feedback, their feedback on the ICT policy to the head office. We indicated that we should have the feedback by the end of December. As I speak, we've had responses from the Secretary and Europe presbyteries. So we are appealing to the rest of the presbyteries to please forward their feedback to us. The department is also in the process of crafting the conditions of service for catechists. And we are sure, we are expecting, or we are targeting that by the March GAC, all things being equal, we'll present our final draft to GAC for consideration. I'm also reminding ministers who have upgraded themselves academically to present their certificates or forward their certificates to the head office. We have had situations where ministers and academic training, and then they maybe, some say they are not aware that they are supposed to bring their certificates to us. And then when they bring the certificate, maybe after a year, sometimes the expectation is that if there's a need for upgrade, the upgrade will take place. It will take retrospective effect. Please, it is not done that way. We take action as and when we receive the certificates. So let's take note. 13th and 14th of January, the entrance examination to the Trinity Theological Seminary will take place. And these are the venues: TTS, Legon, Wesley College, Kumasi. Sunyani, it will take place at the Ebenezer Experimental Preparatory School. For Takoradi, is a former Workers' College, now the University of Ghana campus in Takoradi. Peki, it will take place at the EP University. Please, candidates are supposed to come along with their Ghana cards. And then the cost per candidate is 500 cedis. 500 cedis only per candidate. And it is taking place 13th and the 14th of January at the venues mentioned. Thank you. So, Papa, I'll call on the legal officer to continue with the presentation from the department. After the legal officer, the property manager will follow, then the ICT officer in that order. Thank you very much, sir.
Peace be unto you. All right, so I would address you on what the legal unit of the head office does, and then a few matters that we want to bring to your attention. The legal unit exists under the Department of Administration and Human Resources to guide the church as far as legal matters are concerned. And is manned by 2 lawyers, the head office, and then 2 external solicitors, or what we call the legal advisors of the whole church. And each presbytery is supposed to engage legal advisors to attend to legal matters within their presbyteries. Yes, and it has been suggested strongly that some presbyteries, 2 or 3, can even team up to engage 1 lawyer to address their matters. We pray and trust that this is adhered to. Now, the unit attends to matters including preparing and reviewing contracts and other legal documents, liaising with the property unit to address land-related legal issues, handling head office-related court cases, and maybe selected cases within the presbyteries as instructed by the trustees. And we coordinate the other cases, court cases within the presbyteries. We also sit in various standing and ad hoc committees and other meetings to advise the church as far as legal issues are concerned. And a number of other legal issues as and when they come up. We want to stress that it's so important that as ministers and as agents of the church, we give attention to legal issues when they come up. In the least, just call us at the head office so that we can at least provide the needed guidance on such legal matters, because if we don't do that proactively and then there is an issue or there is some liability, it's the whole church that is at stake. The lawyers handling cases for the church at the various presbyteries met last September, and a number of recommendations were furnished to the GAC, the November General Assembly Council nations. Some of them, a good number of them, require that as ministers and as agents of the church, we are a bit more proactive when legal issues come up. Let us not leave it, maybe land court cases, let's not leave it to some other persons. Let's champion it, or even when we ask a presbyter or some other person to follow up, let's get to know what's transpired so that we are proactive and we don't sit there for some liability to come up which will affect the church, either financially or otherwise. One of the things in the Gawes, for instance, there was a transaction, and I'll come to entering into transactions. And there was a transaction that a a minister, and some other members of the church, presbyters and committee members, entered into, and it brought a whole lot. The matter is in court now. There's a big amount of money that they are claiming, which if maybe steps were taken to engage the lawyers to guide them in the transaction, it wouldn't have taken us that far. And so we are encouraging that we are proactive, more proactive in the coming year. And let me also talk about maybe the last matter, or last but one, gazetting of 2022 ordained ministers. We have been able to arrange for a virtual meeting with the head of marriages at the Registrar General's Department as part of the processes required for the gazetting. And he has agreed to, initially there was a difficulty in them agreeing to a virtual meeting because last year we realized that we had to bring down 2020 and 2021 ordained ministers to a meeting in Accra for that purpose, and the cost involved, the inconvenience. So we have been able to push for a virtual meeting on the 12th of January, that's next week Thursday, at 10 o'clock. A letter will be coming under the hand of the Clerk of General Assembly on Tuesday, indicating the means of joining the meeting, so that wherever you are, you can join it virtually, and then they will do the presentation, and then we would put in the application. Because if we put in the application without that, they will not push it from the Registrar General's Department to the Attorney General's Department. And in connection with that, so those ministers concerned who are here, you take note, and then those of us who are not here, I mean, if we are here, we can communicate to the newly ordained ministers within our presbyteries, within our districts, and within our places, so that they are aware. But a letter will come, it will be sent through email or WhatsApp, and so it will easily reach you by close of day on Tuesday to indicate the meeting link, the details by which you are able to access and take part of the meeting. In connection with that, let me just say that for those who are newly ordained, kindly ensure that the name as appears on your ordination certificate is as you approve of, or is as you prefer. Both the names and then the arrangements. Because if the ordination certificate, that will be the basis, the name on it, that will be the basis of putting in the application. We regularly have issues of ministers complaining that the name on their gazette is not properly spelled or maybe arranged. And when it happens that way, you'd have to spend money to redo the whole thing, and that will be your cost. I mean, the minister involved, your cost. I know that as we are doing the gazetting, the church pays for that, but if you don't pay attention to that and there is the need to redo that, you'd have to bear that cost. And so let's take notes accordingly. And let me just end by saying that kindly, we have had reason to intervene in legal issues that are happening at the presbyteries. Just call us, just make a phone call, send a WhatsApp. If there is anything that you need guidance on, anything legal that you need guidance on, so that we can guide you. And then as a church, we are more proactive, and we would, by that, prevent any liability. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Papa. The property unit also handles all issues concerning the property of the church, and we mostly assist in the acquisition and documentation of the church lands and the management of all other properties. So we have the estate unit also with us. We usually work hand in hand with the legal unit concerning things that are legal, which affects our property as well. We also work hand in hand with the various property managers in the various presbyteries, and we encourage that we take advantage of their services to help in the management of our properties. One of the things that I would want to bring to our attention is the Land Administration Fund. which we expect every court to establish or have this fund to support the management of our properties. Because when it comes to something like the management of our lands, it's very expensive, and without this fund, it will be difficult for us to be able to register and work on our lands. So we encourage that every court, from the presbytery to the districts, the congregations, we encourage everyone to establish it. And when we establish it, please let us make it available to those who need support on these things. We also want to stress that all documents are supposed to be signed by the registered trustees, who are the moderator of the General Assembly, the clerk of the General Assembly, the presbytery chairpersons, and the property manager. We encourage that let us not, we are not trustees as agents, so let us not attempt to sign these documents, because it is only the trustees that have the legal right. So we encourage that we do these things. One of the lands I also want to bring your attention to is the missionary lands, or the lands that we term as Salem lands. We encourage that we update the regularization of these lands. Though all these lands have been duly registered, the system of registration at the time does not conform with today's registration. So you go to Lands Commission and it looks as if we have not registered the land. So we encourage that let us update the registration. We prepare new plans, submit, add to the old documents that we have, the missionary document that has been prepared already, submit them at the various lands commissions for them to update their records on it. When you have any challenge concerning this, please let us know for us to assist you, because these documents are quite foreign to the staff of the commission, because they are not used to these documents. Most of them are young people like me who don't know how the system worked at the time. We also want to encourage the maintenance of our chapels and our manses. Sometimes when we meet the lay, they are complaining on how we manage the manses. When I meet the ministers also, they complain that the lay does not help in maintaining the manses, because when they make their request, they report to them about issues concerning maintenance. They don't seem to help. But we pray that we all work hand in hand to be able to maintain periodically. When we would want to wait for us to leave the manse before it is maintained, maintenance becomes very expensive, and most of the time it delays the transfer or the movement of ministers. So we encourage that we maintain these things. We also encourage that we secure all our boundaries, the landed properties. We secure every boundary with visible monuments. So you have a big track of, everybody knows that this land is for Presbyterian Church. But where does it start? Where does it end? What shows that this is the limit? So let us put visible monuments there for people to see the boundaries of our lands. Last but one, I would also want to remind us that we don't have the right to give out lands without the approval of the trustees. We don't have the right, even to our own members, ourselves, we don't have the right to give out lands. This has to be approved, or the decision has to be taken by the General Assembly. Finally, I would want to draw our attention to the need for insurance. It is by law that every property of ours, the buildings, even in the construction of the buildings, by law, we are supposed to insure them. And we can do this through the insurance brokerage company that we have, the Trinity Insurance Brokers. By God's grace, they are in front of us here in the porch. When we pass through, we can talk to them about anything concerning insurance. They will assist. They will not tell you the insurance company you have to insure with. They only advise. Wherever insurance company you want, where you are and you want to maintain it, they will facilitate these things for you. Thank you very much.
Peace be unto you. Okay, with permission from the Director of Administration, I would like to speak on a few things. The very first one will be on the ERP. We know that we are in an era, we are in an information era. Technology is everything. The ERP that was introduced by the church and approved by the General Assembly is in use. There are some presbyteries that are doing so well. We did the last training for the upper and the northern presbyteries, and they have registered a lot of their members on the system. Brong Ahafo Presbytery is doing very well. Kapin Presbytery is also doing well. But there are some other presbyteries that are not helping. We have challenges with most of our major presbyteries. Some are doing well, some are not. So I would like to take this opportunity to appeal that our ministers should own the system. The system is a very expensive one, and it has a lot of features. These features are all online. You can access it everywhere. Information storage and retrieval in this era is necessary. If you're a minister and then you travel somewhere and you are supposed to have access to details or information from your congregation, the best way you can get it is through the ERP. I know our pay slips and other things, we are able to access it on the ERP. So why don't we bring all our membership details also on the ERP? I know some presbyteries or some congregations are already using some systems. That's why we have made provisions for data migration into this new system. So you don't have to go and do any new registration. All you have to do is to migrate your existing database into this new one, and you are good to go. So the ERP is there, it is working. The version 2 is supposed to be released this month, and it's an upgrade of the version 1. We had few challenges, just like any other system. We had few challenges, and those challenges have been resolved, and we hope that you use it, and then you give us your feedback, and it will help the church grow, to help the church grow. And then for the purpose of communication, official communication, the church, we are in the process of acquiring a customized Gmail account for all our ministers. We bought one that uses the pcgonline.org, but that one, people are not familiar with it. I know we have a lot of people using Gmail. So this customized Gmail account will have your name and then the pcgonline.org attached to it, and it is having the Gmail interface. We will make it available, and all ministers, you have your username and your password, and when you log in, you can change it. It's a Gmail interface with your own storage attached to it. You can use it for all official communications. So subsequently, when there's going to be any communique from the head office or the national office, it will be through your customized Gmail account using the pcgonline.org at the end. Okay. And then, just as I mentioned, ICT is everywhere now. So please, our social media handles, for congregations, for districts, for presbyteries, we advise that you get yours, and then we link it to the national one. So we have a very broad social media handle where information dissemination will be very easy for everyone. Let's have our social media handles. Those who can afford the website, we have templates available. Contact us, we'll give you the template, and then you just have to input your data, and then you have your customized website for yourself. Okay. And then on Sunday, there will be a prayer marathon. I'll only talk about the technical aspect of the prayer marathon. From 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. is for the presbyteries. This is what we are going to do. We are going to provide the Zoom link. For the first 1 hour, or for the 1 hour that the 3 presbyteries will have, every presbytery will have 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The prayer topics will be shared into 3. The first presbytery that will take the first 20 minutes will have the first parts of the prayer topics. Data MNE will communicate with you in due time. But the first 20 minutes, because we are going to use the Zoom with a limited number, we don't want all members in the presbytery to be on the Zoom at the same time. So if it is a Krapen presbytery, Ga presbytery, Brong Ahafo presbytery using the first hour, all of you will be in your rooms. A Krapen presbytery will be in a single room. So you have a room with your camera connected, and then we pick the feed. So you'll be in a single interface, a Krapen presbytery. Brong Ahafo will do same. Asante presbytery will also do same. So we have all of you 3 interfaces. For the first 20 minutes, if Krapen presbytery is taking it, you pick your first 3 topics, you pray on it. The other 2 presbyteries will join. Then after the first 20 minutes, the second 20 minutes, the second presbytery will pick the second set of points, and then they pray on it. This is to help our social media users, because we are going to have a lot of people joining us on YouTube and YouTube, on Facebook. If we decide to let every presbytery pray or use all the topics, we'll be confusing those who are listening to us. We want to make things uniform. So when you join the first 20 minutes, but the 1 hour, all 3 presbyteries will be on, but the times will be shared and the topics will be shared. So when you are done with yours, you'll still be on, but the next presbytery will be taken over, and then we'll switch to them. So we'll switch until the 3 presbyteries are done, and then they leave. Then the next set will join at 2 o'clock. We'll do this until 6 p.m., and then at 7 p.m., we'll join the main one from Victory Congregation. So this is how it's going to be. We'll be streaming live on YouTube, PCG TV, and then we'll stream live on Facebook, Presby Official. So we are going to make it like that. Kindly let's follow. Subsequent communications will be done by the M&E director. So just as I said, ICT is rolling now. Everything is ICT. We have to let our church grow. We have to help our church grow. So let's use the digital media we have. Let's use the technology we have to help the church. Thank you.
Thank you very much, those of you who have come from the Department of Human Resource Management. Now we have the very last, definitely not the least, department, the Department of Finance. Alex, please.
The peace of the Lord be with you all. As Papa Clark mentioned, my name is Alex de Graaf Tansen from the Department of Finance. I would want to touch, one, on the percentage contribution system, popularly known as 50-50. Papa Clark, Papa Moderator, I would want to express my sincere appreciation to all ministers as well as all Presbyterians for their wonderful support of this system throughout the year 2022. Even though in the year 2022, the economy witnessed serious price hikes in goods and services that affected people's purchasing power. And when people's purchasing power are affected, it had a direct relationship with the projected or expected income or budgeted income from the church. I must say that as at October 2022, we had a gap of about 4.5 to 5 million Ghana cedis as revenue not earned because of the difficulties we had in the economy. And that meant that certain planned activities in the budget could not be embarked on. We are praying and hoping that this year, 2023, will be better off than 2022. However, I must also say that there were some occasions where the monetary team of the head office went around to do their checks, and we discovered some kind of irregularities in some congregations and some districts. These irregularities were as a result of amounts not fully paid or amounts not paid at all. Some of these congregations and districts have been contacted, and some have started making payments or refunds into their respective accounts. I want to say that we should intensify our monitoring exercises. As Papa Clark mentioned earlier on, we should intensify our monitoring exercises so that we are able to correct some of these or avoid some of these irregularities in future. Number two, I want to talk about accessing payslip online. I recall that last year, January 2022, I stood at this auditorium and mentioned that we have gone past the era where ministers could walk to head office, some from very far place, come to head office and say, I want a payslip to take a vehicle from a congregation, from a city, from a village, from a town, whichever, all the way to head office and pick one single payslip. It didn't worth that. So I indicated that we have deployed a system where you can sit at the comfort of your home, at the comfort of your church, at the comfort of your office, and access your payslips. The detail or the credentials were sent out somewhere in February or March last year for ministers to access their payslips. As at now, I still receive lots of calls that I'm coming to head office to access my payslip. Please, if you have challenge, again, we will populate the procedure. Again, I will share with Papa Clark. He will populate it at a chairperson's speech, then we'll populate it. So they can go through the steps in accessing your payslips online. The system is active. The system is workable. So let's, as much as practicable, if you come to head office for other things, and as part of other things, you want to request for a payslip, fine, that is fine. But to travel all the way to head office to access only payslip, I think we have to try as much as possible to minimize travels. Then let me touch on salaries. Many a times I do receive calls from ministers. My colleagues have received their salaries. I have not received mine. And then I ask, please, have you checked your bank? And the money is not there. I have not received an alert. I'm waiting for an alert. Please, the alert system fails sometimes. Don't let us rely on alerts. I use a certain kind of software to pay salaries. Anytime I pay salary and your salary comes back, I am able to see in my system that Osofo A's salary has returned, and I am able to work on it again before it can go through. Anytime I pay salaries and your salary is returned, I am able to see it in my system. When I log in, the system tells me that Osofo A's salary has been returned, B has been returned, C has been returned. I pick those ones and we rework again and we pay. If I don't see your name as part of a return in my system, it means that your salary is lying with your bankers. It means that your salary is lying comfortably in your account. The alert system does not work all the time. Don't let us place over-reliance on alerts and say we have not received salaries. There are times where I will advise that we go for bank statement. And they go for bank statement and they realize that, oh, the salary has hit the account somewhere on the 7th of a particular month. As at 15th, 18th, 20th, they are still calling that I have not received salary just because they are relying on alerts. I want to plead that let us not over-rely on alerts. If we have difficulties, we should touch base with our bankers. Let us get bank statements for them to give us our statement. Then if the statement comes and the salary is not there, then you have a case. Then we can pick it up from the paying bank to the receiving bank. Sometimes some of these monies lock in between those banks. So I pay salary through EcoBank. So all those whose accounts are domiciled with EcoBank, immediately they are able to receive their salaries. All those employees whose accounts are domiciled with other banks, the monies move to those banks, for example, Commercial Bank, and it is somebody's responsibility at Commercial Bank to credit individuals' account because they have the details already, to credit those individuals' account. So sometimes the salary may move from my system, it may move from EcoBank, it will be sitting with your bankers. So if you have not received your salary, and if I have not seen a return in my system, and that's not reflected on your bank statement, it means that these two banks should do reconciliation for them to credit your account. The fourth one has to do with PCG, pension, and SSNIT. I want to encourage all SSNIT contributors that intermittently you would have to go for your SSNIT statement. Let me repeat. Intermittently, it could be once a year, it could be twice, it could be thrice a year. That is free. You can even access it on the internet. Free of charge. Go for your SSNIT statement. If there are gaps, please draw our attention for us to rectify these gaps before you hit 60. When you wait for 15, 20 years, we may not necessarily find data for 20, 25 years, 30 years ago. And that will become a very serious problem. Intermittently, I beg of you, I always say this year, every year, I beg of you, intermittently go for your SSNIT statement. If there are gaps, immediately come, let us see how we can address these gaps. Because you have to contribute to SSNIT for a certain number of months before you can enjoy SSNIT pension. 180 months. That translates into 15 years. If at 60 years, you have not hit 180 months, and you want to surrender your SSNIT, you cannot enjoy monthly pension. What SSNIT can do for you is to give you the bulk money. You will not get monthly SSNIT pension because you have not hit 180 months. Let us take this very, very seriously and ensure that we close any gap we have in our SSNIT contributions. If you have a gap and you bring it today, because the data is fresh, we are able. It is not always the case that the thing is coming from head office. So there are instances where we pay to SSNIT, but SSNIT will not be able to credit people's accounts. It has happened to me before. But once you can prove payment, that this is the list I submitted, this is the check I paid in, then they enter into their system and they are able to do the correction and credit your account. But SSNIT will not take responsibility if I do not produce records, even though the fault may come from SSNIT. But once I don't have that data, SSNIT will say that I don't charge in addition. So we need not to wait till we clock 60 years where we have worked for over 40 years, over 35 years. Then we will go for our SSNIT statement, and 4, 5, 6 years down the line, there were no contributions. Then you come 25 years ago, it will be difficult for us to get data. It will be difficult for us to get data. So let us act now. And again, those who complete ministerial training and they are more than 45 years and had not been SSNIT contributors before, you cannot contribute to SSNIT. Let me repeat. Those who complete ministerial training and they are 45 years and above. So, for example, you entered into SMT at 45. You will finish, for example, at 48. You were not SSNIT contributor before you entered into the ministry. When you come out at 48, you will not qualify for SSNIT. Because between 48 and 60 years is how many years? 12. And the minimum number of months you need to qualify for to enjoy SSNIT is 180 months, which is 15 years. So, what we do is, you will not enjoy monthly SSNIT when you go on retirement. We will put, when you notify us, we will put all your 18.5 into tier 2 for you. So all your 18.5 will hit tier 2. When you get to 60 and you want to access, you access the bulk amount and you manage it. we need to understand. We need to understand this one. Yes, you manage it. We need to understand this one. But if you finish ministerial training, for example, and you were a Senate contributor, let's say, for example, you contributed to Senate for between 20 to 25 years. Somewhere along the line, you lost job, you didn't contribute to Senate up until 45, and you complete ministerial. Because you had ever contributed to Senate, your record is, we will continue deduction for you. And Senate will accept our payment because you had already registered with Senate and were contributing to Senate already. But then, if you were not a Senate contributor at all, and you complete training above 45 years, you cannot join Senate because you need 180 months before you can enjoy Senate. And again, for PCG pension, as I have always mentioned all the time, we have stopped admitting ministers onto the PCG pension since 1997. As at now, we have 74 ministers who are actively contributing to PCG pension. 74, only 74. We have 198 ministers, retirees, who are enjoying from the pension scheme. We have only 74 who are contributing. And we have 198 who are benefiting, retirees. So in this kind of defined contribution system, definitely the system is not sustainable. That is why in the wisdom of the church 2 years ago, the church agreed in principle that church itself must absorb SNET. Must absorb the pension scheme so that we can be able to pay. Other than that, we will not be able to pay retirees at the end of every month. Because in defined contribution system, you need minimum of 4 people's contribution to pay one person. So if you have 198 and we have 74 ministers contributing, straight away you realize that it has assumed a kind of nose dive situation. So let us encourage ourselves. And again, check your pay slip. If you have not submitted your SNET number, please submit, check your pay slips. If you check your pay slip, your SNET numbers are over pay slip and your SNET number is not there, it means that we are not deducting. Please, yeah, don't. And we say at times I am not afraid to kakra. Temoso momoyeng. Now you to me and correct it way with time. Many times when we get a pay slip, we are only interested in one thing, the amount down there. When we look at it, that is all. Anything on the pay slip, we don't look at them again. I beg of you, all your details are on the pay slip. Your account number, check whether your account number is correctly spelled, written. Check whether your social security number is there. And again, check whether the deductions are taking place. Your 5.5%, it should be there. And your 30%, it should be down there. Check all these details. If they are not there, please help us. We will immediately rectify for you. And the last one, Papa Moderator Papa Clark, which I see, which is quite a little bit serious, has to do with change of bank accounts. Bank accounts. Papa, we've had complaints from a bank that they are intending to blacklist Presbyterian ministers for one major reason. They go for loan, they pay 2-3 months, and they change their bank. So the salary will no longer go to that bank. The salary will go to a different bank. That is very serious. They are planning to blacklist Presbyterian ministers. I personally don't think this exercise is helpful. Maybe I will leave for Papa Clark to throw more light on that. But Papa Moderator, Papa Clark, I want to ask with your permission that going forward, I want to propose this one. Any minister who would want to write to head office to change his or her bank account should bring a bank clearance for the bank to say that you don't owe. Then we can go ahead and change your bank details for you. Without the bank clearance, Finance Department will be unable to change your bank details for you. this is getting more serious. We are getting a lot of calls, which is very embarrassing to the church. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Director of Finance. I think on a very last note, it is very obvious that it is becoming very serious because information is that a whole presbytery has been blacklisted by Stanbic Bank because of such behaviors. I think it is not speaking well of our church. And so we have discussed, and what the director has said, we'll take it further, discuss at committee level, and then council level, and then start implementing. You cannot change your bank account when you have taken a loan on the previous, an existing account. I think it is not Presbyterian at all. Thank you very much, Director of Finance. So, Mr. President and fellowship, this is your church. This is the national church. This is the life and work of the Presbyterian Church head office. And let me say that this is just a fraction of the activities that we engage in. It will be a whole long day if we are to tell you everything. But this is just a gist, if you like, a summation of the works of the various departments of the church. We want to thank you. I will want to thank you on behalf of the whole head office, on behalf of the directors. I want to say thank you very much to you for the support that you continue to give to the head office. I always want to say thank you, the various presbytery chairpersons, thank you, district ministers and ministers in charge and other agents. Thank you so much for the support for the administration of the church. Because of you, it is manageable, because of you. And as I keep saying, our church is now a very complex, big, complex institution. And so we will have to be up to date in terms of our approach to management and administration. But we thank you for your prayers for us and the support that you give to the directors and all officers of the church. Thank you so much, and God richly bless you. I don't know whether there is one or two. If there are one or two, can we continue? One or two questions, key questions, please. That would be helpful to all of us. Otherwise, we will end here. One or two, yes. No, I said one or two. I can see one, I can see two. It's over. Yes, one. Yes.
Mine has to do with about 2 or 3 occasions on the Almanac. There's only one reading, and you'll be told that you have to think fast. And so, what about those in the villages? What happens? It's a challenge. So. And also, I've discussed that with the director, what happens with the change of the almanac, where some of us bought 10.
Okay, so the reprints have all the corrections. And let me say that I am signing a letter to every presbytery, to every congregation, detailing some of these things so that you can diarize them and apply them in your congregations. Thank you. Number 2.
Maheja did